Yeah.
Do you want to roll?
Yeah.
Okay. We're back.
We're back.
We're
Back
back.
again.
We had a holiday.
We did.
Happy holidays. Happy holiday. Holidays.
Happy holidays, and for those of you who want to hear it for the future holiday, Merry Christmas is coming around the corner.
That's right.
Feliz
Fantastic.
Navidad.
All right, we're going to get kicking it off here. But before we go anywhere, we're going to do a quick shout out to David Adiv from New Jersey, Gracie Humaita. Apparently, he was an early guy that people speculate was around the first 12
Yep.
to get a black belt. David Adiv from Israel.
The first 20.
But could have,
Looking like
Yeah.
it was the first 20.
could have, should have, would have been.
Yeah. So, got to shout him out. Someone
Let's
mentioned it.
shout him out. Yep.
David
24
Adiv.
is a better number anyways.
Yeah.
And then from there, let's keep rolling. So, here we are. We got the CEO in the house. Holiday
Not just
CEO.
a CEO.
The
I have a
female-
competitive jiu-jitsu career
The
from blue belt to black belt
yes,
against
that's you.
people who are the top in the world.
Yes,
Thank
a top
you.
tier competitor,
Just vouching for myself.
jiu-jitsu black belt.
Moving on.
And
You're
CEO.
a woman. How could you know anything about jiu-jitsu?
Oh, stop.
With the OG, Chris Haueter.
But Chris Haueter, OG.
There we go.
Also fought people
Old grappler.
who were really good.
I've had my share of great matches. I've won some great ones and lost some great ones.
Yes, we're with Sunni Ghost Imhotep, who is also a competitor of sorts. Sunni's out here
Yes. I
punching
am.
people,
Caught
kicking people.
grappling and mixed martial arts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm Tobin.
Who's
The,
also competed. Oh, wait, he was like a white belt world champion or something.
I'm the Copa Pacifica 20th anniversary white belt champion.
That's awesome.
So
Yay.
keeping it real over here in the solo chair, solo seat, solo bag. All right. So remember, Patreon's still going, and we're loving it. I hope you're loving it too. Again, we're brewing up some exclusive content for you. If you're looking to do some holiday shopping, what do we got going on?
Combatbase.com.
Any
You
deals?
can do it. Well, we just had a huge sale, but now you can use your podcast code.
Yeah.
Podcast 10 on merch.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we make our shirts here in the USA, in LA, if you want to get a Made in America gift.
Nice. Love that.
For your favorite grappler.
If you have questions for the podcast, podcast@combatbase.com. You can hit the hotline, 949-791-7763. Let's roll into this main topic. Today we're going to talk about competition. If you couldn't tell already. To compete or not to compete? That is the question.
That is the question.
What's up with that?
Do you want me to start this off? Because I can launch in tons of tirades on
Or I
this.
could just say one sentence first.
Say it.
I think you should compete. If you're not, if your body is fit enough to do it, I think there's no reason not to. Because it's all about growth. And competition is part of the training. That's what Chris always said. Competition is part of the training.
It's almost like I always say, because we think street, train sport, and practice art, if you cut out any one of those, I think you are not getting the whole picture. And sport, from my perspective, is a necessary part to grow your art and your effectiveness in the street. So if what you're after is self-defense, you're going to need to compete. You're going to need to test yourself against equally skilled opponents in a live fire world where there's the stress of an audience. That will help you handle the stress of an altercation in the street as well. So from all perspectives, it is good to compete. Because one of the things that I think happens a lot is, now, one could say, like, after the class, we go, okay, guys, let's roll. That's a competition, but it's a different flavor than when you don't get to pick your opponent. It's chosen for you, and you have to build up your mind to go out there, step on the mat with an audience or your coach or whoever watching, slap hands and roll. That's because when we club roll, our brains can always go, I was going kind of light. I wouldn't have got caught in that one. Like, our egos will make up excuses that it's really hard to make up an excuse when you're doing sanctioned competition. If you lost, you fucked up. Whereas when you lose in a club roll, you can rationalize all kinds of shit that never is rationalizable not on a club roll, right?
So does that make so say there definitely is a guy and a lot of girls, a lot of guys and girls out there that are fantastic people in the training room.
And they're really good.
Really, really good and never compete at all.
And they have no interest.
So if we're saying that you have to compete or you should compete, does that take something away from their practice if they don't compete at all?
Well, I'm saying that you should compete. I'm not saying that you have to compete. I'm recommending it.
It's
my opinion.
It is his opinion and my opinion, based on our experience, that competition is beneficial to one's game. If that person decides they don't want to do it, that's their business.
Yes. And I mean, there was a period of time in which I had not officially put it out there, but kind of did, that you should compete at least once per every belt, just to have that experience.
Except for white belt. You don't believe in white belt competition.
Except for white belt.
He doesn't believe in white belt competition.
You don't regard my like gold medal?
I firmly believe when you have the skill set enough to where you can compete, that means you're a blue belt. And that was kind of the more old school way. But then if you're running a tournament and you've already prepaid $8,000 in rent and things, you want to get people signed up, open up white belt, and you suddenly made $8,000. And like I can understand why monetarily it changed. And I will say that I think both the best and the worst thing that ever happened to martial arts, combat sports, is competition. It's the best and the worst. So boxing is a perfect example of a wonderful sport which throughout its history has had very corrupt management, competition, and all that. And I would argue MMA is almost more corrupt than what boxing ever was. It's certainly more pyramid schemed than boxing was.
Interesting. Any thoughts on that, Sunni?
I think it's interesting that you say competition is the best and the worst. I think, personally speaking, that everyone should compete, like you guys said. But I don't think that it should be used to base it on anything. Like your promotion should not be based on how you're competing. Like it should be based on the knowledge that you're getting, the skills that you're learning, your ability to teach, all these different things. But because there are people, I'm sure all of us have met people who do really well in the gym, but then when they go out to compete, the pressure of the event, having to cut weight, watching all these people, or seeing all these people watching them compete kind of changes how they compete, and they end up losing and not looking like they did in the gym, and vice versa. There's people,
their headspace is changed.
It's changed, right? And then on the flip side, you have people that are horrible in the gym, and you watch them and you're like, man, this dude's gonna get smashed, and then they go out there and they're like world champ,
Yes. When you add an audience, some people, their comp level goes up and others it drops. And I've always said, like me, I'm totally hit or miss. There are times where I'm in the right headspace. I fight my best with jiu-jitsu, whether I win or lose. I know when I walk off, that was my best. And other times where I'm just in the worst headspace in the world. And I can't even get into the match. I'm like overhearing what the lady's talking about on the side of the mat. I'm like, fuck, I can't even get into this match. I'm too tense. I'll realize I'm gripping really hard. And fuck, I've had horrible competition.
I'm the same as you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the same.
That like moment where you're like on your back getting smashed and you're like looking at how the pyramid's constructed.
Yeah.
In Long Beach, you know,
Yeah,
you're like that crazy like way it's all structured and you're like, whoa, that's crazy.
I wonder if that could handle a 6.2.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this. I've had whiteouts in the middle of a match.
Oh, really?
Like where I don't even know what's going on. Like I'm not there anymore.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like a
Because
blackout.
something happened and it threw me off and I got pissed and I'm not even there anymore.
Yeah.
Completely like, but I didn't drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which again is one of the reasons why I think if your goal is to become a complete martial artist, competition is part of it, especially the mental part.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it.
You don't want to white out if somebody's trying to kick your ass in real
right.
life.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can get that from a like in-house tournament setting,
But that's
or maybe
competition.
just you and your buddy at the wherever you train go like, hey, like I heard for a while like Hiron had a coin, and he'd flip the coin. One side said real, and the other side said playful, and so him and his brother would go, what do you want to do today, real or playful, and whatever the coin would land, then they would do it. And you know, can you consider that competition too?
I do, but
It's a little
But
different.
I mean, doors are
It's-
closed.
It's a mindset change.
Yes.
It's a
But
mindset
he already
change.
knows his brother. He's rolling with his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not some
But now
random-
it's like, oh, this is for real now. Like we're counting this in our ticks on the wall of who won this role today, who won this
exchange.
Yeah. But I also wanted to add something too, because I think when you say that it is important to compete, I think another reason why it is important to compete is that you get an understanding and appreciation for what it actually means to compete and the different levels that there are, right? If everyone that watched MMA or watched jiu-jitsu or watched boxing had to compete in that thing in order to be able to talk about it, you would never see anyone hating on other boxers or other MMA fighters, because once you do it once and you see the level of intensity that it is, the cardio that's required, the mental strength that's required, the discipline, the ability to be present in that moment that's required, and you don't have it because you just started, you're like, oh, now I appreciate Alex. Now I appreciate Max Holloway. Now I appreciate Anderson Silva. And I can see the greatness in them because they were so comfortable, so confident, so still able to do their martial art in the way that they intended to do it at that level, where the title is on the line and you got 3 million people watching you. I think more people would appreciate it if they were able to compete and then have that appreciation for the people that are doing it at the higher levels.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, like in some ways, and this might alienate some of our audience, but I think what makes MMA suck is the audience. And the audience...
Not you guys, right?
The
other
audience...
audience.
I love MMA athletes, but one thing I can't stand is the guy that doesn't do any combat sports, who's a UFC fan, who's like yelling at an athlete, why didn't he take him down there? It's like, because you've never been in a Greco clinch. You know, it's one of those things where, MMA fans drive me nuts. When I used to go to this one place to have haircuts, it would always end up that talk. And then everyone in there is commenting on everything they know about jiu-jitsu, martial arts, and all that. And most of the time, I just bite my cheeks and I don't say anything, because why attempt to educate them, because they aren't interested anyways. But
His least favorite conversation
oh
is a
god,
martial arts conversation with a
with
non-martial artist.
yes, it's my least favorite conversation. And the thing is too, like especially in the early and mid period in MMA, the people that did so well were wrestlers. And the reason why is because they competed all the time. So competing wasn't this new nervous shock. Competing's what you do when you wrestle. And they didn't have that anxiety that the martial arts guy would have, who does really well in the gym, but has only had a MMA fight twice in his life, and now I'm on my third, where you're going against a college wrestler who can't even count how many matches. And experience is gold for anything.
Is there a component of the martial arts piece that's more secretive than the wrestling culture?
Yes, especially in the olden days. So in the
Wait, what do you mean by your question?
My question is that, like, wrestling, they're competing all the time. They're putting it out there. They're always having these matches.
No one's hiding their techniques.
Traditional martial arts, not even just specifically jiu-jitsu, but Chris has studied all martial arts since the age of like 7.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing karate. He was doing all these different things aside from wrestling in high school.
Yep.
So I'm wondering, like, the contrast between those traditional martial arts and wrestling, if it was more like we just kind of practice this in secret.
Yes.
I see what you're saying.
And it came from a very closed-minded martial arts culture. Whether it was Brazilian jiu-jitsu or Chinese kung fu, it was, you didn't train in other styles. You were loyal to that instructor. You definitely did not show your moves to a potential rival or enemy. Whereas wrestling, boxing was, here's all the moves, everybody knows them, let's see who's the best at them. And so, like, jiu-jitsu, and then what really changed that, besides Bruce Lee, Dan Inosanto, which opened up and really were the first true mixed martial artists who pissed off their classical groups that they came out of, like, no, you can't learn boxing, you're a Wing Chun guy. It's like, fuck, I'm going to learn boxing too. You can't do judo, you're a... Yeah, but that opened it up, right? And I think when the internet hit and people started to post matches and moves, you couldn't hide it anymore. Because in the early LeCompte days, there would be guys running around, and if you had a camera, you'd have to hide with a camera to record any match.
Because that was still trying to keep it
secret. Trying to contain the art.
Interesting.
And there are people that would say, you know, once I learn this, I'm going to show whoever I want. Just like they show whoever they want. And then the information from a period, I would say from like 1991 to 2001, went viral.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember a phase where it seemed like everybody knew everything now. They might not be as skilled at it, and there might be one variation of the De La Riva back take, but like it was, styles were isolated to training groups. There were guys that had really good closed guards and horrible open guards. The guys who had only open guard, no stand-up game. The guys who were solid on their feet but didn't really have guards. That was more common. It was less homogenized.
And at that time, too, that you were talking about, you made VHS tapes. There was a set of VHS tapes that people were watching and learning jiu-jitsu from his VHS tapes that were some of the first.
They were among the first, yep.
And he would get seminars from these VHS tapes.
Yes.
That's how people would learn about Chris.
Where are they? Where are the tapes?
They're on combatbase.com.
They are.
And you can sign up for a membership and watch them all.
Yeah.
I like that clip that you did where you're like walking up like a stairwell and some dude attacks you.
Yeah.
Jeff Wassa?
It's rad. Yeah.
It
looks so real.
It's kind of
like
funny.
you could
It's
watch that.
entertaining.
I actually think I posted that
He's so
on
cute in
YouTube
those.
one time, and I think it got
I
flagged.
hate those.
He's so cute. That's kind of how he was when I met him.
I think I posted that on
hate
YouTube.
those.
I posted that on YouTube, and it got flagged for violent content. And then I had to like request them, like, no, this is instructional material. It's not like really somebody getting jacked.
Oh my god, that is funny.
Yeah.
Before before we move, I have a question that you may not even notice that you did, Chris, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. You said when you were talking about MMA, you referred to it as a fight, but when you talked about wrestling, you referred to it as a match. Do you think that if strikes are not being thrown, that it's considered a fight?
You know, I think that's one of those things that comes down to there are certain words that we use in one setting that don't quite fit in the other. Like, in some ways, a boxing match is the same as a boxing fight, right? I always think of, when I think of the word fight, it's not necessarily the rule set, but it's the athlete's intensity and goal. So boxing sparring, I would not call a fight. I mean, yes, it can turn into a fight.
If there was one sport that I would disagree on,
Maybe you're
it's
right.
probably boxing, because they
Maybe you're
actually
right.
fight when they're sparring.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
a problem.
Yeah.
But I get the point that you're trying to make, is that it's not actually competition, so it's not a fight.
And I think most pure grapplers, whether it's wrestling or the jiu-jitsu or judo, who've done MMA, will definitely say that MMA is way more intense. Way more, which then you go back to a grappling only, and you're like, oh, no one can punch me in the face? This is great.
That was my first thought when I went back to doing jiu-jitsu. I was like, oh, this is great. No one can punch me in the face.
This is, how did I ever think this was dangerous?
There was a time when I was like a blue belt when Clifton and I were talking about me maybe doing MMA. And his take was that MMA was less like intense for him. I don't know, I guess maybe like a scrappy kid from Hawaii. He said that the jiu-jitsu matches were like way more like intense for him than the MMA fights.
Well,
And
that's the thing, because the jiu-jitsu matches, like my first 3 or 4 matches, there would be the instructors then, you know, like Hickson and Hegan and others, like arguing over the rules. I mean, you kind of didn't know what the rules were until you go, what are the rules, coach? Just go in and tap them out. You know,
yeah.
Which is submission only, which
Yeah.
is a thing.
I think-
That's a thing.
I think what Clifton was saying was that he felt like because of the intricacies of the jiu-jitsu grappling match, that like something could come out of left field that you weren't prepared for and cause you to sub. Whereas
that
with
could
a
certainly
It's more
come in
complicated.
MMA too.
but with the MMA, for some reason he felt more comfortable and he said, "Oh, it's just a scrap." And I'm like, I don't know, but
I could see that, in that it's, if we're diving deep into that, I think I could see where he means that, because if you're doing jiu-jitsu for the purpose of jiu-jitsu, most likely you are higher level in jiu-jitsu, so there's more at stake. You can't make as many mistakes because the other person will expose you. Versus MMA, like most of these dudes are not really like doing jiu-jitsu to that level. They're kind of just fighting, and it's like, I can handle that, because like what
this is what he
you
was
really
thinking.
yeah.
And he was fighting in camo.
Oh, dude, come on.
Yeah.
It's nothing. That's nothing.
I knew a dude that fought in camo, like never had done any martial arts training whatsoever. He played football, and he was just like,
What's Camo's a venue?
Yeah.
Camo is the amateur circuit for California.
Yeah, amateur rules.
Yeah.
MMA, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like one of those things. Like, I remember when I was a blue belt, watching a VHS tape done at an academy in Rio, where a brown belt and a black belt were in a piss off over a girl. They rip off their gi tops. Somebody turns on the camera and records them have what I'm going to call a fight. Like, this isn't even MMA.
Real. It was real.
It's a real fight. Yes.
To the death.
To the death. And with the honor that when one guy quits, it is over. But it was definitely a nails out teeth bearing fight, right? And like, that was kind of the first view I had of what I saw MMA being. So when UFC began, I'm like, holy fuck, this is going to be intense. And it was, UFC 1 was intense, but it was way less intense than this thing I watched, which was really intense. It was like almost like watching snuff porn. It's like, holy fuck. Like, they're clearing a crowd so these guys can... What is snuff porn?
Yeah.
I actually don't know what that is either. I was like,
Oh, God. It's a really...
digging yourself a hole.
But snuff porn is a really dark thing that if it doesn't turn you into a depressed nihilist, then you have no soul. It's pornography done with a killing in the end of it.
Oh.
So...
I have an ex who did that.
Yes. And I'm sure I'll start an argument here, but there is a difference between erotica and porn. And porn implies a victim. So people who are hooked on porn, sometimes what they're really hooked on is erotica. They think they're hooked on porn. But porn is necessarily something where somebody is above someone else, and it's taboo to our soul. It has to be taboo to somehow it's appealing to the darker part of you, then it's porn. If it's appealing to the romantic love part of you, it's erotica.
Porn education, combat based.
So back to the IVJJX. No, so I guess the thing that I'm thinking about is if you're going to be a martial arts person, right? I think that if you're going to engage this activity, there's something in you that says you want to be a martial artist, combat athlete.
Yes.
You kind of have this idea of what that is in your mind. And as you're trying to fulfill that idea or incorporate as much of that into your life as you see fit, how much is enough? Do I need to go fight MMA in order to be a real martial arts person? Or can I, everything's a spectrum, right? And if I get so entangled that I end up going and pursuing this thing to where I'm, and is MMA even the most martial arts thing you can do? Isn't a real... Is backyard beef?
Start fighting people. Go, Tobin. Beat
All
people
right,
up.
so
Yeah.
let's just say, as an amateur anthropologist,
Yeah.
where one of the things we do in Western biology is we separate things like kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, a species. So the kingdom of this is athletics. The phylum is martial arts. The subphylum or class is either combat sports or fantasy performance arts. And that is a pretty big evolutionary split. And I appreciate all martial arts, including the theatrical ones, but I particularly love combat sports. And then there are some, just like in zoology, there are some animals where we're like, where does this one exactly fit? There are different martial arts that we're not quite sure where it fits. Because it's a little bit sporty, but not really sporty. It's definitely arty performance-y, but it's not as performance-y as theatrical kung fu, so I don't know.
What was the question?
Cool.
What was the question again?
I guess just like, when is enough, right? As
That's
someone
an individual choice. But if you have if your goal is to become a complete martial artist, then that must also include to be effective in the street, to use as little athletics as you possibly can, the art, and to test it for growth. And it's like, for me, the point of a competing isn't to win. It's to become a better martial artist.
And also, Chris, like a lot of times we talk about having a stand-up art, having a clinching art,
Yes.
having a ground art to become a complete martial artist. But wouldn't you also say, like, I feel, it's just something I don't know that much about, that you should have some training in weapons and that stuff.
I
kind of
include,
stuff as
yes.
Well, I was about to say, like, if you're thinking to yourself, okay, I want to be a warrior, in today's world, maybe doing this type of, I mean, what we do is actually a metaphor for what today's war is.
Yes.
And so to be a warrior in today's world, maybe you got to do some
A very
computer programming,
loose
you got to do some drone
metaphor.
flying,
Yeah.
you got to do some gun shooting,
Yeah.
you got to do all this different stuff. Maybe you got to get in on your law degree.
Right.
Maybe you got to get your law degree to be a warrior in today's world.
So in that kingdom phylum class order, we're way up on like mammalia, which includes firearms, archery, sword fighting, like the
Contracting, contracts.
Yeah, and
Pen?
the pen is mightier than the sword. We're putting a lot in there. Like, what do they say? Politics is war by non-combative means, or and like again, there's things that don't fit neatly in any box. But when I was younger, I loved weaponry and archery, and I still kind of like to occasionally shoot. And there was a period of time when I was a purple belt or a blue where I would fire 3 arrows every day. Just 3, because I like my 3s. I wouldn't do more or less. I would have good days where I'm getting all 3 in the bowl, and other days where I miss, and I would use that as a metaphor to balance a training and my mind. And I didn't have one of those really cool bows with high-tech sights. It was all by feel, that bow right there, and I would fire the 3 arrows every day.
And then also you were really into a whip for a while, weren't you?
Whips are fun. Right there, I have one.
The
Yes.
whip's there.
During your
But
snuff,
I
during
never
your,
knew him when he had the whip.
during your snuff phase.
I got myself in my snuff porn phase. No, I got a scar where God, I was going whoosh,
Pretty
and
good with
Whipped yourself?
nunchucks
I caught
and
my nunchucks and
sticks.
sticks. I was good at that. Now my arthritis hurts too bad, but yeah, I enjoy
Chris is
all
a
that
true
stuff.
martial artist.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A true OG old guy
something.
arthritic
We're here.
martial arts. I used to have a back spin kick and an inside crescent kick.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Savate kick.
Yeah. Oh, I love Savate. What an awesome art. So one of my first overseas seminar, I'm in Reunion Island, which is this small island off the coast of South Africa near Madagascar,
It's
and
something.
or kind of, yeah. So,
It's in the Indian Ocean.
in the Indian Ocean, and it's kind of a French colony known as an island where pirates would go to stash their loot and all that stuff. A wonderful place, very mixed race place, and there was this old French guy there who was a savate master, who hated sport with savate, because savate is done with a boot, and he'd show me the boot with that hard sole, and the way he'd bring that fucking leg up with the heel of the boots in, and explain, you see, on the boat rocks, you got to be able to do this, you board a boat, and they're pirates. It was like a complete art, including with weapons, a sword, rapier, and it like totally impressed me with how powerful wearing a boot, the point of a toe is, with precision and accuracy, hitting you right in the fucking chest, will knock you out like that. Oh, you're out. And it was like, and it humbled me, because here I am, this Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, thinking, oh, I could probably tune up anyone on this island and all that. After that, I'm like, fucking, that dude would have fucked me up. Like, he would have fucked me up. That foot would have went like this and hammered down on top of my head, and I wouldn't have seen it coming. I'd be standing in my Hickson stance, ready to enter, and it just, bam, I would have gotten tagged, right? But those moments of being humbled, which is again why it's good to compete, because you learn more from your losses than wins. It's like, oh, fuck, I got humbled. I didn't see that move coming, or whatever it is. And then if you're a true martial artist, that opens up a growth pathway. And I think that's what we're all after, right?
Yeah, I really like this idea that the objective of the competition is to win the competition, but the point of doing the competition is to improve yourself as a martial arts person. I think like having that mindset is
In
really
mind,
great.
body, and spirit.
And a really cool example that I can think of somebody really connecting with that concept is those guys that go out in the streets and like hold up those signs going like tap me out for $100. I feel like they're doing that because it feels like it fulfills their martial arts practice.
That's
and it's
true.
like
A primal need is, it's like, so professional wrestling was a performance art that evolved out of a combat sport, wrestling. And it evolved before we had soft mats. So most grappling styles, you didn't spend a lot of time on the ground because it would hurt your knees and your elbows. And in order to make money, because the people want to see people get hit in the face and they want to see drama, but these wrestlers didn't want to do MMA because they wouldn't last. So they created a show and a drama so they could wrestle, but at the same time entertain an audience. And if you saw like a 1920s professional wrestling match, it would look more like the pancration than it would this current show, which is all show, right? And so it kind of tells me how much environment is stronger than will. And the environment of an audience alters the art. And the incentives of how to earn a living alters the art, right? Kind of like in zoology or biology. In order to eat, it's going to favor certain traits. Because if you don't have those, you don't eat, you don't pass on that cultural gene. And martial arts are cultural evolutionary byproducts. And in this current world, particularly in the last 20 years, it's been like another Cambrian explosion of sub-evolutions moving off into all kinds of areas. So just as an observer, like placing no value on it, like, oh, I only like this rules of MMA, or I only like that, like viewing it as an amateur anthropologist, it's like, sure, show me more, add another variant. Like one of the things that I would love, and I've been saying for 30 years, and maybe somebody will hear me out there, and I'll take credit, they should have gi fights in MMA. MMA gi fights. Where you can lapel choke as well as punch. Where
I feel like that'd be dope.
Yes.
But
I mean, that's basically Sambo, right?
Basically Sambo,
But
yeah.
you don't punch in Sambo, do you?
No, you do.
No,
Oh,
a little.
A little.
Yeah, you can punch. You can knee in the face.
Well, there's different
really?
rule sets to Sambo
Well,
as well, right?
combat Sambo, I should say.
Combat, yes.
Combat Sambo, yeah.
I saw jiu-jitsu in a fitted suit.
I saw that for
Tournament.
the first time
I've
too.
seen
That's
that.
weird.
I think that's
As
dope.
a car jiu-jitsu fight.
That's
like,
interesting.
Car
The car
MMA
jiu-jitsu is kind of cool. I'm not
It's
gonna lie.
really interesting. Like one passer, the driver buckle in, they say ready go, you unbuckle and fight.
I like pool jujitsu.
The pull jiu-jitsu is, yeah.
It's less hard on the body,
Geriatric.
geriatric,
Yeah.
GJJ.
soothing. It could be nice, warm, balsamic
Yeah.
pool or something.
GJJ.
Throw
Saltwater.
a guard, stuff him, mount him at the bottom of the pool, yeah.
Just practice holding your breath.
Yes.
I had
Water
two,
polo background will help you.
I had two things I wanted to say. I think one, on the point about Savat,
Yeah.
the kick that you just described, I actually got that kick from a game. And I did it in real life because I saw it in a game with a character that did Savat. In
Fascinating.
Tekken, there's a character called Dragunov. He's the character I use all the time. And I saw him, like, one of the moves is for him to do, like, the technically it's outside crescent kick. And I was like, oh, man, that's a pretty dope kick. And I would go to the gym and I would try it out. And then I was like, oh, I feel like I could make that work. And now it's, like, a thing.
Part of your game.
Yeah, yeah. And no one was doing it at the time. And then I put out a video of me doing it, and now everybody's doing it.
Oh.
And my teammate actually knocked somebody out with the first one in MMA history in a fight.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that was pretty dope. But the second thing I wanted to say was to Chris's point about why you should want to fight. My answer has never changed. It's always been the same. Whenever anyone asks me why do you fight? Because I want to see if what I'm doing actually works. That's always been my answer. I want to see if it works. And then if it doesn't work, why didn't it work? And how can I fix it? And I know some people do that in jiu-jitsu. MMA might be a scary place to have that mindset, because then you're just kind of testing stuff out, and the consequences, you could be knocked out, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's always how I've thought about it. It's like, I'm training so much and I'm learning all these different things. I just want to see if it works.
It's a shame to not test it out.
Yeah.
Well, I had a similar reason why I competed, because when I started jiu-jitsu in 2003, there weren't a lot of women on the mat. So I would find the women at the competition, and then I would compete against them to see if it worked or not against somebody my own size and weight. And then I would go back to my coach, who was my same size and weight, Cindy Omatsu, and we would troubleshoot different things on how I could make this art work for me in this particular setting. And that's more sport oriented than street, because probably I'm not going to get attacked by somebody my size and weight. But I was, wanting just this more realistic improvement of my game for my personal peers, which is what I feel I get judged on. That's for my belt progression, is based on my performance against my peers, not my performance against a 300-pound man. Right. So anyways.
I was also going to say, I was kind of interested just to hear everybody's thoughts, but like, if we're saying a fight is based on the intensity, I feel like
One version of what the word means. Yeah.
Women's jiu-jitsu matches always feel a little more intense than the men's ones for some reason. And I actually like watching women's jiu-jitsu matches a little more than the guys. I feel like girls scrap a little harder, it seems like. Do you notice that?
I can't speak for women's jiu-jitsu. Women's MMA has always been the most intense thing that I've ever seen to this day. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's always out. And
What
maybe
is
you, and maybe you
we have a living example.
I'm going to ask you guys,
energy.
because I stated this before it started, but your men commenting on a woman's thing going on, could it be possible that you think that it's unnatural and therefore it seems more intense to you?
I think that might be.
No, not for
He
me.
might be.
Not for me personally.
Okay.
No. It's less about that, because I've been in combat sports my whole life. I've always seen, young girls fighting each other, women fighting each other. That's normal to me. What I think is, like I said, there is a level of intensity and like, I don't want to say it's almost like you don't care, but it's like the competition matters so much. They're just like, I'm gonna fuck this girl up. Like, I'm gonna whoop her ass. Like, one of the greatest fights I've ever seen, Joanna and Wei Li.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's an insane fight.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah.
She had
had that hematoma on her forehead. She looked like she was like one of those aliens.
And it's one of the most intense fight. Like, this is not even me exaggerating. Like, I almost cried after watching it. It was so intense.
Yeah. I kind of think that maybe I'm wrong. It's because there are so few women in it that when you are that woman, you got more to prove, because your audience is mainly men. And if you go out there and don't fight your best, you're representing women out there in a way.
I was also just thinking, like, maybe it's just a cool component of human nature.
Or
femininity,
because we're like the ones that birth babies and stuff like that.
Well,
and
protect the babies.
And protect babies is a very fierce and primal experience to do that.
That's my thought.
And we have some kind of, secret power.
I feel like it's almost like a cultural, it's like a cultural archetype.
Yeah.
Where it's like women are this kind of like frail, weak thing, like that's not
but
the reality. The nature.
The union version is shadow of that is the complete fierce warrior that comes.
Well, and I feel like that's the nature, because think about like in the tribal setting, you're gonna have to protect these little kids when some psychopath comes running in with a machete and tries to kill everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a nature in women that's like
And
really
in
fierce.
modern anthropology has concluded that we often projected our current values onto what we were looking at in the past. They now much more believe that women would also hunt and men would also remain back, especially the older men who can't run down animals anymore would stay back with the young children, where the fit woman before having kids would be on the hunting parties. So
Which is like my life experience so far.
you're home watching the kids.
And something
My
else
wife's at work.
that I just thought about, and then, Melissa, let me know if you agree with this or not. Wait, before I ask this question, have you competed in MMA? No.
No.
No. Okay. You can still answer it because you're a woman, but when we fight, I'm sure it's probably the same thing in jiu-jitsu, right? When you compete against someone, you feel like you know them a little bit better, right? Like
Yeah.
there is this unspoken thing that happens when you are competing with someone else. And I feel like in MMA, it's a little bit intensified because there's a little bit more there. And I think we can all agree that women express emotion a little bit more than men do. And I think in a fight, you cannot mask anymore. You have to be who you are, which is why we can kind of feel what the other person is and who they are through competition. So I think maybe what at least for me, what I'm seeing is the raw emotions coming out of that woman or the women that are fighting. And because it's a little bit more intense, that's what I'm feeling, is that emotion that they are feeling in those moments of like, this woman is hitting me. I want to win the fight. I want to, maybe that's what I'm feeling.
Better
Well,
expressors of emotion.
From my perspective, not having done MMA, but just from competing in jiu-jitsu, that when I'm able to fully focus and make it more about technique than emotion, I'm doing much better. I'm winning. If I'm getting emotional, I'm having a whiteout, I'm crying after, I'm screaming at people after. I've done all that stuff. That's me.
Biting?
I'm an emotional
You been biting?
mess. What? Biting? I
fools?
bit somebody, but not at a
Not in competition.
not in a competition. But I have freaked out and kicked and done a cartwheel, and Chris yelled at me. I've been yelled at. I've had all kinds of horrible experiences. But when I'm able to be fully focused, present, non-emotional, and completely doing, the technical aspects of, it's actually a way better outcome.
I shoved somebody once after getting tapped out by them in a tournament.
Nice, Tobin. Was that in your white belt days?
No.
It was yesterday.
Last week. Last week.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the original question out there for the audience, should you compete or should you not? It's up to you. But competition is going to make you better at martial arts, even if your goal is not to compete.
Yeah. And
It's going to make you better.
And I would add to that I think it's okay to find your own outlet for competition too. You can be the guy holding the sign, tap me out for $100 on
Yeah.
the streets.
Yeah.
You can go do IBJJF. You can flip a coin with your brother at the gym. Whatever works for you.
I think
right?
the sign holding sounds kind of dangerous.
It's a little
Super
cocky,
dangerous. But I think it's super dope.
Well, yeah,
Sandman on YouTube. This
And
guy's
it's
named
kind
Sandman.
of like in the early pre-MMA days where carnivals would come through town.
Carney?
Often the strongman or the wrestler would have a challenge.
Yeah.
Anyone in the town put down $20 and I will make you quit within 5 minutes. And
That's cool.
it would usually be a catch wrestling move. And catch wrestling, I could be wrong, check me on the internet, guys out there, but there was
Comment.
a reason why in England, which is where catch wrestling was huge, there was a period of time it was banned. And I want to say it was some reason after World War I. It might have been the outbreak of the flu. There was a reason why it was banned and didn't come back. Or they said it's too uncivilized, or it passes germs, which at that time they also banned all war dogs because America, we've had our love affair with the pit bull, which is originally a Staffordshire a terrier, which comes from England. And back then, mastiffs were like war dogs that would wear armor and would charge through lines. And imagine 150-pound a dog leaping at you. But then just having that dog running around town being wild was out of control. And with most large dogs here, we've bred out the yapping, nipping gene. Like if Chihuahuas were 200 pounds, we would have fucking banned them because they'd be dangerous, right? And yeah, so I don't know where I in carnivals, those guys would travel around, and that's how they earned a living, was challenging people to limited rules fights.
Yeah. That's cool. We got to get Brian back in here for more of that history.
Yes.
Because he knows all about that stuff.
The catch history.
All right. Do we have anything else to cover on competition? I feel like we kind of put some nice considerations out there.
The only thing I would just say, and I'm curious to get your guys' take on it, but I don't remember who the quote is from. Someone from Greece at that time back in the day. But they said something along the lines of like, it's a shame for a man not to know like the full or true potential of his body. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
That's why you should compete. Just why not? Just go try and see what you can do. See what your body is capable of. See what it's like when you are at your physical best. And maybe you'll like it. And maybe you'll want to continue to stay in that state. Or you can at least say, I felt what it's like to be at my physical best.
Yeah. I think the two greatest fears of humans are the unknown and looking bad in a group. And competing in combat sports challenges both of those. Because it's unknown outcome, you have no idea, and you have to risk looking like a fool. And what you usually realize afterwards is like, no one's paying that much attention to me anyways, except if you're like a Headline MMA or the show. And the unknown isn't that scary. It's kind of thrilling to step into the void and test yourself. Your fear mechanism gets challenged and pressed. And I think for all of us, we need that. Whether you want to go public speak or fight, it's a good thing to, like, because for me, growing up, I fucking stuttered. And I had a huge fear of speaking in public, especially a camera on me. And now through martial arts, I've kind of like overcame a lot of that.
But at the same time, I feel like there's plenty of people who shouldn't compete. And
just because they're dicks?
No, like I don't compete. I retired from competition.
Yes.
Why did I do that? One might ask. Well, my kidney was damaged, and it is hydronephrotic, which means it's full of urine. And if I got smashed on my kidney, I could go into septic shock and die.
Yeah.
I decided that it wasn't a good idea for me to train at that level of intensity anymore. And then a couple years after that, I got a bad hip. And now I have a bad neck. And I have all these physical ailments. And if you're that messed up physically that like you have a hard time, like maybe just getting through the day, doing simple things, like you're trying to stay on the mat, but you got to do a lot of physical therapy and other things. Maybe it's not a good idea to compete.
Yep.
That's what, for me,
Yep.
I don't plan on ever doing it again based on how my body is. Because I only got one and I want it to last a lot more years. And I don't want to put it through that physical stress. Because it is stressful.
It is.
It's a stressful thing. So
Definitely a practicality
if your body can
consideration.
handle it, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
But maybe your body can't.
And it's truly a thing for the young. I mean, sure, you can go be Mike Tyson and take a fight, which I would have advised him not to. But, like, out of all athletics, right, gymnastics has the shortest competition life. Like by the time you're 21, you're over. Your bone plates have all closed up. You can't handle the impact anymore. Out of the combat sports, probably the first one that you should hang up the gloves is boxing. Because boxing is the art of exchanging punches. You have to take some shots if you want to get some shots. It's just how
Punch
the game
drunk.
works. And grappling is the art of exchanging grips and chokes and locks, right? And because there's no impact or less, that can last longer. Judo requires impact. You're like, what's the old line? You're hitting your opponent with the planet. And
Ouchie.
it takes a lot. It's more youthful oriented. And of the combat sports, the one that has the longest life is jiu-jitsu, which is why they have Masters Worlds, which is huge.
And there's like 70-something-year-old
Yes.
people out there competing, and that's great. But I don't know if they've been competing since they were 20-something.
That's true,
They
too.
started
Yeah.
much later,
Dave
so it's miles, not
Yes.
years
Dave
or
Meyer.
whatever.
What about Dave
Absolutely.
Meyer?
Yeah.
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 Dave
He
Meyer.
still keeps going but
does.
somehow there's also luck. Like I feel like what happened
Yeah.
to me was bad luck, and
You had a
maybe I
couple-
could have tapped faster from that back attack. But like, anyways,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't tap. Instead, I got permanently damaged. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Those are some good considerations. Let's keep it high and tight and try to get out of here.
Let's wrap it up.
All right.
Well, let's hit
Peace out.
some new segments.
Okay.
We got to move on to our next segment.
Okay.
Okay.
Next segment.
Abrupt change, course direction, which is the gym shout out segment.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, are you ready to do
Yeah, I
that?
have a gym shout out. I was thinking today we would shout out Magic Jiu-Jitsu in Lansing, Michigan.
Love magic.
Elevate your martial arts journey at Magic, a leading center for Michigan Jiu-Jitsu excellence located in East Lansing. Their center is a haven for enthusiasts aiming to master Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai kickboxing, and I don't know this word, Pukang Tang Sudo. I don't even know what that is.
It's a Korean combat martial art, the non-sport side.
Interesting. They're catering to all ages, from dynamic children's classes starting at age 5 to adult programs designed for both recreational and competitive enthusiasts.
Yep.
Yeah, we met up with a bunch of them out
Yep.
at Masters Worlds this year.
They compete. They do very well. There's a lot of really tough grapplers there. A couple tough MMA guys there. It's a great school. You go there, you're going to leave with solid experience.
Nice. All right. Let's hit one cue at least, and then we'll get out of here. Is
Okay,
that cool?
1Q. Sounds good.
Yeah. We got a hotline queue. So if you want to hit the hotline, 949-791-7763. You can be like this guy here that hit the hotline, and now we're going to play his message.
Hey guys.
Oh, shit.
I'm just curious.
One more time. Hold on. I fuck this up every time.
Language stupid.
Hey guys. I'm just curious. What is an open mat? So everyone has different opinions on what an open mat really is. Some schools don't even have any. Other schools don't let outsiders come in. Some schools charge, others don't. Everyone's welcome. I've been to some martial arts or jiu-jitsu places that only you can roll. Like if they see people drilling on the side or teaching something or practicing moves with your peers, they call you out and are like, hey guys, keep rolling, keep rolling. What are your guys' thoughts and opinions on what an open mat is, what it should be, what it means to you? Should all schools have an open mat? Or, I don't know, just wanted to know your thoughts. Thanks again for answering all the questions.
Thanks for the question. I think that open mat should be open to doing what you want to do because it's
Right.
in the title, open mat. I've never heard of somebody like, I've never been to an open mat where people were controlling what people did during the open mat.
Or not allowing other schools to come in, people from other schools.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like here, we call what we do open mat, but we don't just allow any person off the street to just come into our backyard and roll with us. Like, it's kind of like people invite their friends, and that's cool. And, you know, we ask for donations to help continue what we're doing here. But,
yeah, I think, like, true open mats, and I will say I was responsible for one of the first ones, because back in the olden days, you only trained with your tribe. And being an ex-high school wrestler, we frequently trained with other teams. And we always thought it would be cool to train with the guys from other teams, which a lot of them we knew, because when everybody split up, we still knew others, and we could sneak off into someone else's garage and train. And open mats meant what you would think it means. It means open to all schools to come and roll. So it's kind of like competing against other school guys without the pressure, without the having to weigh in. It's a place where you can go get a bunch of rolls in. And that's what I think of as an open mat.
but if people
Whether
want
they
to
charge
drill,
money
they
or not,
can.
I wouldn't stop anyone from drilling.
And if they want to share, you know, like, oh, hey, how'd you do that? Like, why would anybody say, no, you can't learn?
Yeah.
That's kind of messed up.
And then it's house rules. So every house has its own house rules, and check with the house to see what the rules are. And if you can't abide by their rules, don't go to their open mat.
What was that first open mat situation that you're referencing?
I want to say it was at the Machado Academy. We had one when I was a black belt. And some guys from Horions came, some guys from Hickson's came, a couple of Joe Moreira guys came, and we just rolled.
Is this episode coming out on the 13th?
I think so.
Yeah. So on the 14th, we're having a VC open mat, which stands for vertically challenged.
Oh.
So that is open invitation to anyone who's 5'5" and under. Because we have our own, you know, I mean, you don't know what that's like. But like, you know, we have our own little challenges, and it is a lot of women who are under 5'5", and then some of our other, you know, our male counterparts who are under 5'5". But that's a thing that my student Efrain Sevilla and I are kind of like fostering to do this. It's going to be in Hawthorne from 1 to 3 on Saturday the 14th.
Nice.
And remembering what it was like when you were in 3rd grade doesn't count.
When you were 5'5" in 3rd grade?
Yeah, I was just imagining like this open mat, and then like the door opening is low. So like if you can walk through and not hit your head, you can come in.
Others will be invited, I guess, some others, small people supporters will get special invites.
Nice.
I always thought I have been at places where what this guy's talking about, where
really?
people where people are like, oh, you're not allowed to teach, you're not allowed to drill, you're literally just here to roll.
Oh yeah.
And because I'm of the mind of you guys, where it's like you can do what you want, like it's open mat. Where our mats are open to you. You can do what, you know. But
yeah.
I've been to those. It's very weird.
That is weird.
To be honest, the owners of those schools are also that controlling type anyway, where they don't want their students to go other places and like call you a traitor if you train somewhere else or cross train with someone. So it's
like, don't give our secret techniques away for free or something like that.
Which is like
super weird.
It's 2024.
Yeah.
Like we all know.
What's the point of an open mat if you're going to control it, right?
Exactly.
Cool. Well, that's it for today, I think.
Good job. Are we still doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Pound, like, and subscribe button.
I pointed
I thought it was pound, like, and subscribe.
That's
Pound,
okay.
like, and
I think that's good.
a blooper one time.
Yeah. Good show. That was fun.
I'm going to send you.
Well, we all have targets on our backs these days.